Welcome back to The Critique. Today we're looking at an analysis of Justice Barroso's retirement from the STF. The piece argues, counterintuitively, that his exit isn't a win, but actually a strategic loss, because it hands appointment power to the current president.
Yeah, it's a bold thesis. And right away, I think there's a key opportunity to really elevate how the writer tackles the why behind that early retirement.
Okay, so a major thread here seems to be that this strong central idea that Barroso leaving is bad for the opposition, it kind of gets lost.
It does.
It's overshadowed by, well, a lot of speculation about his personal feelings. Analyzing his face, his voice being choked up, whether he looked unhappy.
Exactly. Way too much airtime on that. It's like he doesn't look calm, or focusing on his voz embargada. This deep dive into whether he seems, depressed or bummed out.
Right.
It just weakens what should be a really high-stakes political analysis. It makes the whole thing feel a bit reactive, maybe even personal, instead of structurally rigorous.
So we lose that high-level view. The weakness, then, is focusing too much on personality, which pulls away from the political motive.
Mm-hmm.
And the suggestion?
Simple, really. Reallocate that time. Shift the focus from the psychology guesswork back to the structural impact, the timing of the retirement, and the political history that's already mentioned.
Okay, so how does the writer do that specifically? Make it actionable.
Well, the piece already gives us the killer detail. Barroso left 8 years early. 8 years!
That's huge.
Right? That's the tension point, not whether he cracked a smile. So instead of asking, why the long face, the question becomes something like, what political math or what specific external pressure makes a justice give up almost a decade on the court?
Oh, okay. That reframes it immediately. More institutional drama, less office gossip.
Exactly. And that pivot lets us bring in something else the author touches on, something much more structural.
You mean the potential U.S. sanctions the Magnitsky Act mentioned?
Precisely. Connect the 8 years directly to that segment, where Barroso's questioned about potential sanctions against him or Minister Moraes. That international angle has so much more weight than, how his voice sounded.
I see where you're going, but how do you frame his denial? He pushed back, tried to dispel the false narrative. Doesn't framing that as evidence mean you're assuming a motive you haven't proven?
It's not about proving it in a courtroom sense. It's about strategic framing for the analysis. Use his intense denial, his defensiveness about institutional vulnerability, as the dramatic core.
Okay.
Make that the structural motivation, not his mood. We're not doing armchair psychology. We're analyzing high-level timing and, potentially, geopolitical pressure.
Got it.
The writer needs to stop looking at his expression and start looking at the external factors mentioned. The Magnitsky Act threat, just the threat itself, whether it happens or not, that's a serious political lever.
That makes a lot more sense. Focus on the international pressure, the institutional factors. Then the analysis isn't about him, personally, but about the court's vulnerability and political chess moves.
Yes.
So the concrete example is, flesh out that Magnitsky Act section. Explain why denying that link so strongly, even if the denial is genuine, still points towards some kind of institutional calculation that goes way beyond just feeling tired or ready to leave.
Exactly right. Put the 8-year sacrifice next to the talk of targeted international sanctions. It immediately suggests a political calculation, maybe a preemptive move, something managing institutional risk, not just a personal choice. That narrative path makes the whole counterintuitive argument much, much stronger.
That's a really powerful shift. Okay, let's move to the second part, the reaction piece. The warning about who replaces him. The critique points out it's framed kind of like a harsh lecture, looking backward.
Yeah, that's the next crucial improvement area. The piece uses these rhetorical jabs, What are you celebrating? Are you crazy? Or, go on, celebrate more, bolsonarista?
Right, that scolding tone.
And look, maybe that tone was needed initially to grab attention for such a contrarian thesis.
Okay, so it served a purpose?
Perhaps. To shock people into listening, yeah. But once you have their attention, the job changes. The reader likely already gets the point. Okay, maybe celebrating was short-sighted.
Now, you need to move past just telling them they were wrong about the past. You need to show them why the future looks worse. The scolding feels earned only if it's followed by deep, specific, strategic insight. Otherwise, it just alienates.
So the suggestion here is to shift the energy, less mocking the opposition's relief
Right.
and more immediate, detailed analysis of the potential replacements. Show why they pose a bigger long-term threat than Barroso's staying. Give the readers something concrete and structural to actually worry about.
Absolutely. Right after saying the president picks the replacement, boom. Dedicate a solid segment to the likely candidates. Move from the general assertion, you'll get someone worse, to specific proof.
Okay, let's take the examples given. First, Jorge Macias, the current Attorney General, named as the PT's pick. What specific risks should the author highlight to make the case he's something much worse?
With Macias, the critique needs to zero in on why his appointment is an immediate, profound political risk. As AGU, his job is literally defending the executive branch in court.
Right, his alignment is clear.
It's explicit. His professional role has been, and you have to assume will remain, tied to the current administration's political needs and legal strategies.
So how does that play out on the court specifically? What should the author point to?
They should cite examples. How has the AGU under Macias acted? Were there key policy defenses, specific cases where his office went to bat aggressively for the executive's interests? Mention maybe institutional shifts he oversaw.
Okay,
Because if he moves to the STF, that history comes with him. It just changes venue. His background makes him almost a guaranteed structural reinforcement for the executive's goals within the judiciary. That inherently threatens the perception of impartiality, especially in hot-button political cases.
that's concrete. Okay, what about the other name mentioned, Rodrigo Pacheco, former Senate president, supposedly backed by the senior justice Gilmar Mendez? That connection itself signals something.
It signals a powerful institutional dynamic. Absolutely. So building on that, the writer needs to look at Pacheco's track record as Senate president.
His legislative history.
Exactly. His actions, his decisions there, what pattern emerges? And the connection to Mendez suggests this appointment could be about ensuring a certain kind of institutional continuity, one that might challenge the opposition or the right.
So look at his stance on key bills, things affecting judicial power or elections.
Yes, instead of just saying Pacheco is a bad choice, the analysis needs to connect the dots. How does his legislative past suggest a likely judicial future?
Got it.
For instance, did his time in the Senate show a tendency to maybe fast-track certain things or block specific kinds of investigations? That behavior is data. It likely translates into a judicial philosophy. The goal is always specific, verifiable reasons why this replacement is an accelerated threat, not just asserting it with rhetorical anger.
Right. It transforms the warning from just being angry to providing actual strategic intelligence.
That's the key.
Okay, this has been a really insightful look at this critique. It's clear the core idea is brilliant, really provocative, but these shifts could definitely maximize its impact.
Agreed. And the two main takeaways are pretty clear, I think, and very actionable for the writer.
What are they, summed up?
First, elevate the political calculation. Ditch the focus on personal emotion. Make the 8-year early retirement and that whole Magnitsky Act context the dramatic core. It's about institutional pressure, not feelings.
Make the institution the story. Okay. And second?
Second, transform the warning about the replacement. Shift the tone completely. Move away from retrospective scolding. Instead, provide detailed, forward-looking strategic analysis of the nominees.
Show, don't just tell.
Exactly. Detail why Macias, why Pacheco are tangible threats based on their actual records and political ties.
By sharpening that focus on structure, on vulnerability, and backing up the warnings about nominees with hard evidence, the argument goes from strong to, well, pretty undeniable. It becomes genuinely useful for the audience.
Couldn't agree more. It turns a critique into a real piece of strategic analysis.
Well, we definitely look forward to seeing any revisions. If you make these kinds of changes, please do send the material back in. We'd be very interested to take another look. Thanks for submitting your work.